Welcome back to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a series that was played during the GSL Code S. Now, the Zerg here. You know him. You love him. I've casted him once or twice before. Yeah, maybe 3 times. Maybe 4. Probably about that much. Playing right here with the red Zerg pieces. We're looking at none other than Dark's main hatchery. Normally, he's got his own decal spinning around on the main base, but in this particular series, he doesn't have that because, well, like I said, this is a tournament game, and usually tournaments, they will give you a fresh new account to play on. His opponent, though, this time around, somebody I don't feature nearly as often as I probably should. He's actually one of my personal favorites, and in my mind, a little underrated. Very strong Protoss player from Korea with the blue Protoss probes. We're looking at Creator's Nexus. This is a series that's been recommended to me many times, so I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between these two. Dark, of course, I mean, does he really require any additional introduction? He loves playing cheesy games, he loves being hyper-aggressive. Sometimes he likes to play macro every single time, and you can't quite wrap your head around it, and that's basically his main strategy and his main strength. Dark very frequently doesn't seem to be knowing exactly what he is doing himself, so how can his opponent figure out what the strategy of the Zerg player is going to be? Obviously, that's just tongue-in-cheek. There's a lot of players that are like, oh my god, Dark's really just messing up a lot, right? He's making mistakes, but I actually strongly believe that Dark really does know exactly what he's doing. He's just making it look like he's an absolute madman. He's that crazy guy in like those 80s movies that has like a knife between his teeth and he's just running around and yeah, that's him right here, okay? He's trying to be hyper-aggressive, and he certainly has an image of somebody who can do pretty much anything. Creator, I mean, like I said, he's a very good player, right? So, there's quite a few clips of Creator playing big offline tournaments and him getting very emotional. Creator definitely one of those guys who, when he gets going, and he plays well, and he wins, for example, the first game in a series, he feels good, and he can continue cruising along. But Creator certainly also somebody who can get very upset at himself, and there are many videos of him floating around on the internet where he is, well, basically in tears. Yeah, he expected himself to do better. Now that's a little bit of a surprise. He expects himself to, yeah, do extremely well, and, well, sometimes he can get stuck in his own head. But when the man is in form, he does incredibly well. Now this is a Robo facility first. Robo first in this matchup is very funky, especially on a map as large as Post Youth. Most of the time, Robo first is just not played very commonly, right? We would see like Disruptor drops from time to time, quick War Prisms, maybe with like a Proxy Gate or something along those lines, but we'll have to see exactly what Creator decides to cook up. Obviously, in Protoss vs Zerg, you will pretty much always see a Stargate opener. Stargate, triple Oracle, or, you know, Oracle into Void Ray, or anything along those lines. Sometimes we see Glaive to Depth builds, right? Glaive to Depth also very popular right now, or at least more popular than it used to be. Straight Prism is a little bit funky to me. He can obviously go Overlord hunting. I mean, that's a very ambitious play. Especially against somebody like Dark. I really don't know if you want to be throwing him curveballs like that, but maybe that's the best way to fight the man, you know? Maybe you have to actually meet the curveballs with more curveballs of your own. Yeah, like a 360 ball, or an infinity ball, or something like that. There's the Twilight Council and the Forge, but most of the time when you do go for a Twilight Council and a Forge follow-up, you... the timing here is a little out of whack. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So now there's an Immortal coming up. A single Adept has been loaded inside of the Prism. Is this a 2-base all-in? That's really the only thing that makes sense in my mind. It's triple gas as well, rather than 4 gas here. No third Nexus taken yet. I've got a feeling this is something... There's a second Adept now loaded into the Prism too. I've got a feeling that this is something very specific that Creator has prepared. So these Adepts are not going to do anything. Like, he's hunting for a drone or two. Yeah. So he's mining triple gas whilst going for what seems to be a Zealot all-in. Now, you don't really need that much gas when you go for a Zealot push. So we'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what he decides to spend his gas on here. Probably a few sentries? Dark will now see that there is indeed, well, no third hatch. Or Nexus, rather. No Protoss hatchery. And you will also see that there's only, well, one gas geyser taken in a natural expansion. He immediately fires up a Baneling Nest, expecting some sort of push. But yeah, this is just going to be essentially a 2-base, 8-gateway, I guess, Immortal Sentry all-in. Now, it's a Immortal Sentry all-in with, I guess, yeah, charge slots and +1. +1, by the way, is really good on Zealots, especially when they're going up against unupgraded Zerglings, because they take 2 shots to kill a Zergling rather than 3. We're not going to see any armor upgrades here for Dark anytime soon. This game will probably be decided whenever a creator decides to go across the map. Any drone kill right now is real nice. Loses one of the adepts here, kills 2 drones. I don't hate it. The real question is, though, is there going to be enough? Yeah, it's just an Immortal Sentry all-in. So it's funny, right? I always think that everybody's been watching StarCraft 2 for over a decade, but it turns out many people haven't. Immortal Sentry is one of the classic build orders of, well, Protoss. We used to see Immortal Sentry all-ins all the time. 2-base Immortal Sentry against Zerg was the go-to for many years. However, it was played very differently than this. Normally you would go 3 Immortals, we saw some 2 Immortals variations back then too. You wouldn't go for a Twilight Council. It was all played a lot earlier on into the game. I'm a little afraid that this is... well, maybe not. I've got a feeling this could certainly fall flat on its face. It honestly all comes down to the micro of both of these players. The longer that this goes on, the better it's going to be for Dark, because look at this. His income advantage has been climbing, but I think the charge slots and the +1 is going to make this a very powerful push. 5 Immortals in total. It's 3 Immortals to one-shot a Roach. We go for Hallucinated Archons. Okay. Yeah, where will the Zealots charge? If the Zealots charge into the Banelings, it's game. There's no Ravagers, which surprises me a little bit. Dark purposely not making Ravagers here because he assumed that this was going to be, I think, more Zealot heavy. It's a lot of Immortal Sentry, man. There's so many force fields. The force fields have to be good. First wave, excellent. Dark's still just trying to buy time. Now he goes for a bunch of Ravagers too. They can be used, of course, with their corrosive biles to pop force fields. The Zealots are still waiting. He's just warping in more and more Zealots. He's already got 20 of them. I mean, the Banelings could still be worth their weight in gold, but yeah, if they're gonna run out like that, the Immortals and the Sentries take a lot of the damage. I think the Zealots can just A-move here. What a weird attack. What a weird game number 1 right here from Creator. Very much so playing the opponent, knowing very well what Dark's tendencies are, and I think he's making it work. Yeah, this 3rd hatch is certainly dead. This army also has nowhere to go. Look at the patience as well on the Zealots, though. We've seen them charge once or twice, but that's really about it. GG. Creator with a 2-base all-in, something that's very uncommon in modern StarCraft 2, just absolutely shuts down Dark in game number 1. Creator just successfully darked Dark, giving Dark a taste of his own medicine. There have been many games where I'm scratching my head at what Dark is doing, and I just did the exact same thing for Creator. So that was a... What's weird about that attack, right, is that it hit relatively late. Like, he could have committed to that push quite literally minutes earlier. Was he really supposed to save up 5 Immortals? It seemed to me that Creator could have gone across the map a little quicker, and he could have just, well, attack moved a little earlier, but I think he must have been scouting what his opponent had. He's like, no, this is the moment at which I'm going to attack. It didn't really seem like a very sharp timing attack. So, historically, the old Immortal Sentry all-ins, they were always played as like a very sharp push. If you delayed your attack by like 10 seconds, that was basically game over. So everybody tried to... This is still the case, obviously, with 99% of, well, StarCraft 2 timing attacks in general. If you delay any of your attacks, your opponent is going to have more time to prepare and therefore more units. So you want to hit as sharply as possible. But that was a delayed 2-base Immortal Sentry Zealot all-in right there from Creator. Like, the micro was pretty good on the Sentries, but I wouldn't even call it perfect. It's not really like he got lucky. I think Dark did have a pretty significant misread, though, because normally you would want to go a lot more Ravager heavy against something as heavy in Sentries as that. And when Creator finally got across the map, it was just Roachling Bane. I don't think there was a single Ravager at that point in the time, or at that point in the game for Dark. So, yeah, I think Dark also had a bit of a head scratcher there. Well, perfect game one. I wonder if the Adepts could have done a little bit more. If the Adepts would have killed like 4 or 5 workers, or even just forced out a round of Zerg units a little earlier, it had a lot of potential. Okay. In all that weirdness, I forgot drinking my coffee. This would, by the way, be a perfect opportunity to let you all know that if this video gets 2,000 likes, I'll upload another one. Yeah, that's how you gotta do it in 2024, I've heard. You gotta basically threaten that you're going to quit YouTube by making people hit the like button. And I'll tell you what, if we don't hit 2,000 likes on this video, guess what? I will still upload another video. Yeah. Yeah, no, I will upload another one tomorrow. Yeah. No, I will still do it anyways. But it is appreciated. You know, it's funny, I always see people complaining about me mentioning it, right? I know it's a little annoying whenever you have to like, hit the like button. Like and subscribe, comment down below. But the thing is, the videos where you guys do hit the like button, they literally go up to like 100,000 or so views. And the videos where I don't mention it, usually they hover at about like, you know, half that. So, even though I feel a little guilty, it does seem like it quite literally adds like, yeah, probably anywhere from between like 25 to like 100% additional people that can watch the video. So hey, it is appreciated if you want to take a moment. You can ring the bell. What else do YouTubers say? Smash like and subscribe. You don't have to smash it. You can just gently caress the like button. Yeah, gently caress it like a long-lost lover. That's how I want you to feel about the like button. Yeah, you don't have to, none of this aggression, okay? That the other YouTubers are. No. What else do YouTubers say? Like, subscribe, comment, buy my merch, www.loko.shop, support the channel. Okay, I'm done. Perfect opportunity, though, for us to talk about that, because this is a very normal early game. Creator not going for any shenanigans this time around. It is a pretty quick Nexus over at the third base. It's just a good old Stargate opener. And this is going to be something that is going to put the ball in Dark's court. This is going to allow Dark to wrestle his opponent in the mud, which is what he likes to do a little bit more easily. He didn't really do much, by the way, with the Oracles so far. He purposely saved up until he's got 2 of them, which is a little curious. Most Protoss players are eager to go across the map right away, but Creator giving his opponent the benefit of the doubt. That's what I like, by the way, about Creator. He obviously knows the rules, right? The quote-unquote rules of how you're supposed to be playing this matchup. But he always plays it a little bit differently than everybody else. He clearly, yeah, he studies what the opponents and, well, his fellow Protoss players are doing, and then he gives his own twists. He's actually very good. Like, Creator has been consistently, for many, many years now, like a top 20 player. Yet I feel like not really that many people talk about him. Anyways, Forge and Twilight Council on the back of this. I'm assuming it'll be Blink together with +1 ground. Well, it'll definitely be +1 ground. Very safe assumption. +1 ground attacks, to be specific. Dark has been favoring +1 melee, it seems, in this matchup. And against the Blink opener, it does seem to be a good choice. A lot of the Europeans, there we go. +1 melee coming up again. A lot of the Europeans are going into +1 missile. Players like Raynar, players like Serral, they seem to be favoring missile into Hydras, into Lurkers and all that, but... Oh, well, okay, Dark. Dark heard me talk about it. No, he didn't hear me talk about it. These games were played like a week ago. Unless he is a time traveler. He decided to cancel the +1 melee and go into +1 missile. Okay. These Adepts have been quite successful. So notice, by the way in which Creator is using his Oracles here. He is using them in such a way that he is denying creep. And he is forcing out units. So rather than going after the actual mineral line, he is using them a little bit differently. Chrono boosting out a ton of probes in the meantime at home. He's already going to go for a 4th base, I think. Yeah. So this all looks like a standard Protoss opener, but the way in which he's executing it is actually very different than, for example, a hero or, for example, max packs. In the meantime, Dark going into a quick infestation pit together with a Hydra Den. I'm assuming this will be a quick hive into lurkers. That's really the only thing that makes sense, especially if you're going to cancel +1 missile. Dark probably had some sort of inkling that his opponent wasn't going to commit to any sort of like mass blink stalker pushes. Not exactly sure what the giveaway for him was here, but Dark is reading this correctly, although he's been making units for a long time right now. So he knows exactly, even if his opponent attacks with like a 3-base all-in, for example, he should be okay. But he scouted the 4th Nexus. Getting the snipe on the 5th hatch would actually be really good. Nicely done. Okay. So, Hive indeed is coming up. Do we have a Lurker Den yet? We should really see a Lurker Den with this. The alternative option is to go for Vipers and Adrenal Glands, but I don't really think that makes a lot of sense. We don't have any melee upgrades. So we should really see a Lurker Den. Maybe Dark just a bit concerned though that he's gonna die to like a big attack here from the Protoss. Obviously he already got mind gamed, so he's playing this, yeah, there's the Lurker Den. I think he just forgot it. Maybe he just delayed it on purpose. Problem is now your Hive is going to finish up and it doesn't really line up with anything because this structure is still building for like another 40 seconds or so. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, Creator, by the way, going into, again, a curious follow-up, building up towards those Colossi. Now, Vipers are real good against Colossi. You can obviously abduct them. This is a Zerg unit composition that is very high in damage, very low in survivability, but if you manage to take out the natural enemy of the Stalkers and of the Zerglings and the Hydras, you can, of course, abduct those Colossi, and suddenly the Zerg army hits like a truck. He's not going for any Adrenal Glands right now. I think he's just trying to buy as much gas here as possible. Get all the gas as you can, and then just, well, get the Lurkers out and try to get those upgrades going as quickly as you can. Extended Thermal Lance relatively late. Dark's actually seen it. There are a couple other upgrades in the Robo Bay, of course. You can go for speed upgrades for Prisms, speed upgrades for Observers, but none of those very popular, not at this stage in the game anyways, as now we have a Nidus Worm coming up. Okay. This is a dangerous moment though here for Dark, because this is before the Lurker numbers really are big enough to keep a Protoss ground army at bay. But we're just about a minute away from Zerg being very strong. There's the abductions, beautiful abductions, great targeting. Shuts them both down. Roach is now coming in from the north as well. Well, the Colossus actually lives. Must have been, I didn't even notice it. I thought he was super dead. Probably got snatched up by that Prism, but honestly, this is still an overextension right now for Creator. Oh, Prism itself, inside of it was a Colossus. Okay. Well, that was the scariest moment, I think, for Dark. Now we have the Adaptive Talents upgrade coming up. That's the burrow improvement for the Lurkers. Keep in mind that we still have a Nidus Worm, and there is indeed... Oh no, we don't have OV speed. Alright, anyways. We do have an Overlord here at the bottom of the map. A little surprised that we don't have Overlord speed to provide some vision inside of the corner of that main base of Protoss, but... Okay. We have another Nidus, of course, though, that we can... Or another location, rather, where we can put up the Nidus. In the meantime, the main Zerg army is going across the map towards the 4th. Stalkers are pushing over at the 5th base of the Zerg. The Zealot run by headed up north. All of this is nice. Good disruptor hit here. But I'm a little afraid whether or not Creator has enough... Oh, okay, that's a misplay. I'm a little afraid whether or not Creator has enough army. Like, yeah, he's doing some damage on the other side of the map, but he's just not able to hold on against this mass amount of swarm. This is the type of game that Dark likes playing, right? A little bit strange from the Protoss, but ultimately something he can hold. Now the Lurkers are going to be going back home right now to defend. Oh, he's trying to... Okay, he did snipe the Nidus. So those Lurkers are going to have to make the walk of shame if they, well, want to make it back, but I don't think he really cares. GG is cold. It's Dark who wins a very clean game. Number 2. Alrighty. And that means it all comes down to Oceanborn. Good old Oceanborn. I'm Oceanborn. You're Oceanborn. When you think about it, we are all Oceanborn. Yeah. life started in the oceans. And I guess it'll end there too. Okay, anyways. Stargate opener here, this time around from Creator. Just like in the previous match. Didn't really work out all too well for him. I mean, that was never going to be an easy game, right? So if you play Dark in a straight-up match, I feel like it's going to be tough in the first place. And he had a couple of good moments, but ultimately, when you focus on a Robo-Bay-based army, so you focus on Colossi and Disruptors and all that, and if you use, lose those units unnecessarily, it's just really hard to play, right? Immortals are not cheap, Colossi are expensive, Disruptors are, well, maybe not the most expensive unit out there, but they do take a long time to produce. And when you sort of throw away those units against the Zerg that can very quickly replenish, it's hard to obtain a victory. So he was playing it quite passively. I quite like the Oracle play and the quick fourth Nexus and all that, right? Denying the creep spread rather than denying the workers. I think it has a lot of potential, but it also means that your follow-up has to be exceptionally clean. And it just simply wasn't. So let's see. What can we do this time around? We should see a third Nexus here. 345 to 350. Depending on the execution. And it turns out the execution, flawless. 345. That's always a nice little skill check. Especially if you're a Protoss player yourself on the ladder and you're like, oh my god, Zerg, I can't ever win. And you look at your own third base timing when you do this exact same opener. You may find that you're building the Nexus at like 430. Very common problem. It's funny because sometimes you feel like you're doing everything right and then you compare your games to a pro game and you realize, nope. No, even like the first 5 minutes. My supply is like 20 supply lower than the opponent or than the pro gamer's equivalent of their, you know, build order. And you realize that the game is not that easy. Lair coming up here again. 4.5 minutes for Dark. Providing high ground vision is the Oracle. Twilight Council and a Forge again, okay. So Creator is looking like he wants to play the exact same thing. Okay, gets 2 drones, 3 drones. Don't get too greedy. Oh, transfusion on a drone. Okay. Is that worth it? I guess, yeah. Yeah, it's actually fine. We don't really see it all too often. But since this isn't a follow-up where he's going to really need the gas, or the Queen gas. Sorry, Brenda is gassy. I meant the energy. You don't really need the energy here anytime soon. I think he'll be okay. He already had enough, apparently, saved up for a transfusion. That may be the most surprising thing. Alright, here come the Adepts. Well, once again, it's going to be +1 together with the Blink upgrade for Creator. So essentially, a copy of what we've had in the previous game. +1 melee coming up this time around, so the first real deviation. Last time around, though, Dark decided to cancel the +1 melee in favor of +1 missile. Looks like that won't be the case here. Okay. So let's see. I think this is quite nice for Dark, all things considered. Because if this is a very committed... So he's losing quite a few drones, actually, this time around. Yeah. Good micro here by Creator. The thing is, the rock, paper, scissors, as far as the upgrades go, if you go into Blink Stalkers, +1 melee is just so nice to have. The Zerglings just deal so much more damage. Whereas if this would have been like a Glaive the Depth follow-up, right? Which is why it's a little rock, paper, scissory. Is that a word? Scissory? Could mean many things, huh? Anyways. This is a little... Yeah, it could have been a disaster is what I'm getting at. Especially now with the Hydra follow-up too. So it's very similar follow-up. Do we even have a... No, we have no Roach Warren. Dark actually skipped a Roach Warren? Absolute madman. Late Bailing Nest, skipped a Roach Warren, massing Hydra Ling. This is something that's really good against Blink Stalker. But also, yeah, very dangerous against quite literally every other flavor of Protoss. Luckily here for Dark, the flavor we're going to get is cheese. No, sorry. No. Maybe. No, this is not very cheesy at all. If this would have been Glaives, if it would have been Colossi quickly, if it was any sort of follow-up, other than Blink Stalker, actually, even like a Zealot all-in. If there was any sort of other follow-up, this would have been a disaster for the Zerg. That also kind of gives you, I guess, a good indication as to how Zerg players are currently feeling about this matchup. I see quite a few Zergs complaining about beating Protoss in the current meta. Apparently Dark is feeling like he needs to cut that massive corner, not going for the Roach Warren at all. There was no way for him to really get any real confirmation as to what the Protoss was going for. But anyways, Disruptor's coming up. So this is straight Disruptor play this time around. All very similar. Again, a 4th Nexus nice and quickly. Worker-wise, by the way, Creator is currently absolutely booming. But, oh, he's going Disruptor and Colossus at the same time. Is that even legal? Are you allowed to make these 2 units at the same time? That's like a starport with a reactor on it, producing a Viking and a Medivac at the same time. I don't think that's allowed. Like, you can, but... Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And apparently Creator now also agrees. He's going into Colossi. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So he rushed out 1 Disruptor. He must have had like a certain amount of resources. Disruptors are quite a bit cheaper than the Colossus. I think he probably just didn't want to waste any production time. Oh, careful now. I like how he blinked half of those first. A lot of stasis wards set up. Okay. Dark, by the way, not going into a hive this time around. I don't see a lurker then. This is basically him committing to a mass Hydraling Bane army. And this is scary. Suddenly the Zerg is gonna come from every single angle. Is there enough for Creator to hold on? Nova, okay. Does get whiffed. Banelink's now hunting for the probes. 5 workers go down. Excellent defense. Excellent defense just now here by Creator. Those stasis wards so valuable. That's why losing an Oracle early on is an absolute disaster. We're not done yet, though. These guys woke up out of stasis. Okay. Well, 6 probes in total. And obviously the main thing gained right here for Creator is time, right? The worker loss, it doesn't really matter. It's just that Zerg was so committed here that we're still at lair tech. So he needs to go into a hive here ASAP. But Creator now has a perfect opportunity to go for an attack. I'm assuming we'll see him really commit here in just a moment, because he knows he's got some time. When Zerg does a Hydraling Bane push like that, they will never have a hive on the back of it, or at least it's not going to be even remotely ready to go yet. So he's got a minute, but he does need to get a move on within, probably before like minute 11. Yep, and he decides to go right now. Prism coming up. Double Observer, double Prism. Okay. Let's see. Creator can push for the win here. Still not easy, though. When you step your little Colossi legs into the creep. Ugh. Ugh. Gotta polish that when you're done. Alright, let's see. Nova, okay, connects with the Queens, but here's a mass amount of Zerg suddenly coming around the back. Where's the Prisms? We have multiples, where are they? Okay, well, that was probably the worst fight you could have taken here as Creator. A very painful engagement. Dark managed to come in from every single angle. And those Colossi, so good at dealing splash damage, barely got anything done. Yeah, when you stand out in the open like that and Zerg on creep can just surround you from every angle, it's a bit of a disaster. You gotta play that a little bit differently. And with a little bit differently, I mean a lot of bit differently, because I'm not sure what we're even doing here. Like, what was the purpose of fighting right over here? I think you march over in that direction, or any choke point, really. You could even go up this ramp over here, but that was a dangerous play right there by Creator, and it immediately backfired. That being said, though, obviously Dark was in a rough position before that, so now this game is mostly even. Lurkers coming up. This is where Creator needs to make sure his mental game is strong, right? So if you look at Dark, whenever he's playing a tournament, you look at the player camera, he's always got this cheeky smile on his face. Dark is ultimately the final boss. Mentally, he seems to be extremely strong. And Creator, certainly somebody who will, like I mentioned earlier, right? He's certainly somebody who can get very emotional. And I think fights like the one that we just saw, him throwing quite significantly, those are the types of games where he needs to be on point. All of the top-level esports players, at least in StarCraft 2, are very good when it comes to recovering from mistakes. Most pro gamers out there are human. I say most because Cyril doesn't really make a lot of mistakes, so he doesn't really need to recover. But most of the tournament winners out there, historically, they are human, and because of that, they will make mistakes. You gotta recover. You gotta recover. Okay, now it'll be a very different game, though. You can feel here that both players are not entirely sure how to proceed, or at the very least, they have no aggressive push ready to go. Suddenly, this is untreaded waters here. We've got ourselves a Nidus Worm coming up again. Dark really liking the lurkers inside of the worm right now. Fleet Beacon coming up. Okay. Creator feels that the game has been slowed down enough for him to go ahead and transition towards a Skytals-based army. He does have Psionic Storm at this point. Psy Storm, obviously, very powerful. He's got 6 Templar with enough energy. Let's see. +3 melee, by the way, is gonna hit like a truck. Oh, he's putting it up within vision range right there of the photon cannon, so not bad. Easy kill. Banelings coming in from the left. I mean, defensively, you can tell that Creator has been putting in a lot of work. Maybe benefiting from players like, for example, Stats. Coming out of the military again. I feel like actually all of the top tier Protosses have gotten a lot better playing defensively. Oh, what? Sorry, did we just kill a bunch of our own Stalkers? Wow. We killed a bunch of our own Stalkers in order to make 1 carrier. God. I don't know if that carrier realizes what had to be committed. What had to be done for him to exist. Scouting Worm here inside of the main base. Protoss army running on over in that direction. Ling Bane in the bottom left-hand corner. Dark trying to see if he can create a distraction and then suddenly overwhelm the Protoss. The thing is, though, at this point we're talking 90+ workers. So losing a base here, losing a bunch of probes, it's not the end of the world at all. Okay. Those Banelings. Just a straight shot to the face. 9 probes end up going down here in total. That Nexus is gone. Suddenly Dark is everywhere. Then again, though, Dark doesn't have that much money. And it's obvious here that Dark is the one that now needs to decide what to do. Keep in mind that the clock is ticking. The age for the ground Zerg here is almost over. Although, obviously, those carriers cannot be everywhere. It's a Hydra then follow-up right now for Dark as well, obviously. So he doesn't have a Corruptor transition. I don't think he's got any Microbial Shrouds or anything like that. Although I think in this situation, it would be quite mediocre. So many probes have just gone down, though. There are a few Dark Templar. Yeah, the Dark Templar, but they're nice. Sadly for him, there are already Overseers up in the air. 33 probes down. A Nexus lost. But that was also a lot of losses on the side of the Zerg, actually. 21 lurkers just ended up falling. Okay. I think Creator needs to go. There's still a lurker here trying to buy time. Dark realizes that he's going to need a moment here before he is going to be comfortable fighting this massive Protoss army. So he's trying to buy wherever time he can, but an observer will have to fly on over here for the invisible man to try and shut all of this down. Creator still with the much better army. He smashed his piggy bank, goes into, well, the 300 Mama ship right now, too. I think Creator needs to move, doesn't he? Ah, he doesn't realize it. Obviously, we have perfect vision. Easier said than done. Okay, there's one lurker, man. This guy doesn't have a lot of kills, but it's been extremely annoying for Creator. Okay, you blink twice, suddenly Dark, back up to max supply. He's going into Vipers right now as well to abduct the carriers, the Colossi, the Immortals, whatever he can. This expansion will be attempted once more by Creator. That's not going to happen. That's one carrier getting picked off. And this is the type of game we have seen many times before. Normally, Zergs will... Oh, he's hold firing! He held fire right there with all of the lurkers. Still an ambitious play right here, though, from Dark. I don't think he wants to be this far off creep. Creator, not scared. Even though those lurkers were not firing immediately. He still realized that he had a chance. He just stood his ground and decided to fight it straight up. Mama Ship is gonna pop here. It's gonna be very powerful. And I'm assuming it will be brought across the map, although it could be used as a secondary recall too. A few Hydras here misrallied. Creator now carving a path through all of the creep. He still has a couple Templar available. Feedbacks on the Vipers would be massive. If he can get oh my god, if he can feedback the Vipers. I think he wants it, but he's not gonna be able to get it. Probably wants to use the Storm instead, yeah. Parabombs right now on the Colossi, as well as all of those flying units, but ultimately, the army here for Creator is just too big. And just like that, Dark, he ends up losing in a game where I feel like a lot of people would call him the favorite.